This is Unit 4 review number 1 from Lacerna Geometry, and I'm going to go over in this video numbers 1 all the way up through number 5. In number 1, we see the direction says to find the measure of all the angles, and they give us this diagram of the triangle which has all our angles labeled. You have 3x on this angle, 7x minus 59, 4x plus 15. And really when they say find the measure of the angles, they didn't say anything about x. You really have two steps here. You have to solve for x first, and then you have to plug it in and get these angles. So what I'm going to do is, on a separate page, I'm going to show the equation to get x. Now remember, with the triangle, when you're dealing with the angles, the three angles in the triangle always add up to 180 degrees. That's triangle sum theorem. So I've taken this piece of paper and written out that equation. There's the first angle, 3x. The second angle, 7x minus 59, and then the third angle, 4x plus 15. And my first step when I solve this is I'm going to combine like terms. Now, be careful when you're combining terms. One thing a lot of people will do is they'll take, say, the 7x and subtract, do minus 7x underneath that. But here, we're just keeping everything on one side. We're going to keep everything together here, combined on this side. When we start moving over this line, that's when we change signs. So 3 plus 7x, 3x plus 7x plus 4x, that gives me 14x. I'm combining all those x's in one step. Then I've got negative, this minus 59, I'm going to treat it like a negative. Negative 59 plus 15 gives me negative 44 equals 180. Now I'm going to take that minus 44, remember I'm trying to get x alone, I'm going to move that over to this side. Now since I'm crossing this line, now I'm going to change that sign, plus 44 plus 44. When I add this, I get 224, I believe. That's 0 plus 4. Yep. That equals 14x. Divide by the coefficient of x, which is the 14. X equals, that goes in I think that's 16 times. So there's our value for x. Again, we're not done. So we went through that work, we got x equals 16. Now we have to plug it in to each one. So this first angle becomes 3 times 16, which is 48 degrees for that angle. And notice this isn't x equals 16 degrees, it's just a value for that variable. It's not a degree yet. Then it becomes 7 times 16 minus 59, which is 412 minus 59, which is 53 degrees. Then the last one, 4 times 16 plus 15. That's 64 plus 15. That's 79 degrees. There's the measure of all three angles after solving for x. Number 2. It says find the value of x in the parallelogram below, then find all of the missing angles. So since it's a parallelogram, we know we have opposite sides parallel. We also know, because of that happening, we have all these properties happening with the sides and the angles. Now we're dealing with angles, so we're only concentrating on the angle properties. And one of the properties is that opposite angles are equal. So this, we can't figure it out yet because of the x, but this 122, we can put that here. The other property that we know with these parallelograms is that the consecutive angles, in other words, any two angles that are not opposite from one another, are supplementary. In other words, 2x plus 42 plus this consecutive angle is 122. Now if you remember from parallel line patterns, the C pattern, this is the same thing as same side interior angles. Because you have parallel lines, there's your interior angles. That equals 180. 2x, I'm going to combine these, I get 164 equals 180. 2x, I'm going to subtract 164, I get 16. And then divide by 2, and I get x equals 8. So there's the first thing that they're asking for, is the value of x. We now know x equals 8. Now the other thing they said is to find all the missing angles. I've already found these two. I just need to find this one. And to do that, if we look at this angle, remember these angles opposite from each other are congruent. I just got x, I can now plug that in here. So this becomes 2 times x, which is now 8, plus 42. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 42. Add those, I get 58 There's my last missing angle, 58 degrees. Those two are 122, and I'm done with number 2. Number 3, WXYL is a square with diagonals that intersect at P. As soon as we see square, we know that all 4 sides are equal. We know that these are all right angles. We know that these intersect at right angles in the middle. We also know that these diagonals bisect each other. They cut each other in half. We know all this stuff about a square. Find the value of x if px, where's p? Yeah. Px is 7x minus 1, and py is 2x plus 11. Now when they say px, they're just saying the distance from this point P to the corner x, and py is the distance from point P to y, or I'm sorry, y down there. Oh, labeled that in the wrong spot, so that's 2x plus 11. Here. Now it's not actually going to change the answer with where I labeled it, because in the square, the diagonals, not only are they congruent, but they bisect each other, which means all 4 of these pieces, all 4 of these little pieces of the diagonals are all congruent. So all we have to do is 7x minus 1 equals 2x plus 11. I'm going to subtract the 2x. I get 5x minus 1 equals 11. I'm going to add the 1 to both sides. I get 5x equals 12. I divide by 5. It doesn't go evenly. You can, if you want, you can divide and get the decimal, but you can also leave it as the fraction 12 over 5 because you can't reduce it, and there's your value for x. Numbers 4 and 5 in the video are now constructions. Number 4 says use the straight edge and compass to perform the constructions. Given the circle below, construct an inscribed square. So here's my compass. I'm not going to use it right away because for number 4, this inscribed square, the first thing we need to draw is a diameter. Now that diameter can go anywhere in the square as long as you're going through the center 0, or through the center O. So I can go at any angle like this. There's my diameter here. So that's my first step. Now, once I have the diameter, I am now going to construct the perpendicular bisector, because we know that if this this diameter really ends up being the diagonal of this square, because in the end what we're going to see this square in the circle, and we're going to see the 2 diagonals drawn, and this piece is basically what we just drew here, this diagonal. Now remember that the square, these are perpendicular. They make right angles. So our goal is to make a line, draw a line through here that is perpendicular to this. So in other words, we are constructing the perpendicular bisector. So now this compass is going to start by putting my middle point here. The pencil is going to go just a little more than halfway. That's good enough right there. And I'm going to draw my arc like this. Now I'm not going to change the compass. I want to keep it exactly as it is. I'm going to do that same thing from the other point. Now sometimes, depending on how you draw it, sometimes these arcs, where they cross here, that might be outside the circle. As long as they're both in the same place. Both of these intersect inside the circle, so I think I'm pretty good. So now I'm going to line my ruler up. There's my straight edge. And in a straight line, I'm going to go through the center and those 2 intersections. Now I started again back with the diameter with these 4 points. I just made these 2 points here. So I start with the diameter and those endpoints. I just made the perpendicular bisector. To create the square, what I've done now is I've got my 2 diagonals. Now I'm going to connect and make the sides on the outside of my square. So I'm going to start here, I'm going to connect there, and I'm just going to keep going around, connect these 4 points that I created on the circle, and eventually I'm going to have a nice perfect square that is inscribed, and there is my beautiful square. Number 5, again, straight edge and compass. I am asked now, given the segment below, construct an equilateral triangle with a compass and straight edge. So I'm given segment AB, and this is a very quick construction. This is only 3 steps. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to put my metal point on B. I'm going to get that pencil lined up on A. And I'm going to draw an arc about that much. Now I'm going to keep that compass the same width. I'm going to go over to the other side. I'm going to go from A, and I have the pencil on B, and I'm going to draw another of those same exact arcs like that. Those intersected once up top. And now all I have to do to finish my equilateral triangle is connect from that intersection to A, and then from that intersection to B. And there's my 3 congruent sides. There's my equilateral triangle. And 1 through 5 are now done.